Hello everybody, Keith here again. Not videoed for a while, not an awful lot to show you. This is the What's in Bloom at the end of the month video for May 2021. Things are not really blooming very much at the moment. We've had several tables full before, this time there's only one, and several of those plants are coming to the end of the flowering cycle. So we'll see what's coming. Next month I am quite hopeful we'll have some others to come through. There's a Dendrobium phalaenopsis Thailand Black is coming into flower. I've got an Oncidium type which I got as a no ID, which is going to flower very shortly, so I don't know what that is. I've got a suspicion as to what it is, but I don't actually know. And there's one or two others. Oh, the big foul pink Twilight's got another darn great spike showing up and coming into bud. So with that said, we'll just get on and we'll have a reasonably short one, I think, this time. Okay then, this is a Runanthera. It's a cross between Amayani and Monachica. Looks much more like the latter than anything else. I've seen another photograph of this hybrid, and the flowers didn't look a lot like this, so whether this just happens to have all the traits of one side, I don't know. These are as near finished as can be. It flowers once a year, it grows very, very slowly. But it's doing okay. On the other side, which is the side up to one of our bedroom windows, you can see that it's quite purple, but the leaves are okay. It just grows slowly, that's all, but it seems to be an easy one to do anything with. One that is nothing to do with me is this Epidendrum. Got it, I don't know, a month or so back from a local garden centre for £10, which I thought was an absolute bargain. I haven't repotted it. It was suggested that I was better off leaving well alone while it was in flower, that it might make them shed the buds. So I've kept it as it was. It's in this horrible peaty stuff which I don't like, but I'm sticking my little finger in it to try and work out how far down it's dried out. It's getting watered once a week, once every 10 days, depending on how well I got it the previous time. It's an oddball. I believe this is exactly how they grow, with roots coming out of the side of the canes. But we've got new buds opening on the other two flowering spikes. These two new canes are still growing, still putting new leaves up. And the other thing that's happening is we're getting these. I mean, on any other orchid, you'd say, oh, it's covered in keikis. But I believe with epidendrums, this is what they do. They don't tend to come up from the bottom so much as come up from partly up the stems. And there's a lot of them. There's two on that one. There's at least one on that one. There's one on this one. So there's one round there, and there's more nubs showing. So there's a lot going off. We've got a lot of roots down in the bottom. Some of them are down into the medium. Quite a lot aren't. What I'm doing with those is I'm spraying them twice a day. Sometimes, perhaps every other time, every other day rather, I'm using a bit of Orchid Focus, Orchid Mist, that stuff. A ready made up fertiliser spray, and the rest of the time it gets rainwater. And these roots green up and are obviously taking it. And considering I don't know what on earth I'm doing, it seems to be doing okay. I have moved it this morning because I'm told that these are related to cattleys. They like a lot of light. They don't mind it too warm, despite what it says on here. So I've moved this into the conservatory from the front window. And we'll see how we go from there, because this is going to get afternoon sunshine. So that'll be one to keep an eye on. But so far so good, I think. This is a wildcat, Oncostelia wildcat. I think it's rainbow, or rainbows, I'm not quite sure which. This is a relatively poor spike compared to what it's done in the past. But it's flower, that's a good thing. And the pseudo bulb, this one, is bigger than the one that preceded it. So it's well, at least 50% taller and quite a lot closer to some of the ones it already had when I got it. So this is slightly disappointing this year, but we have got some roots coming off the bottom of this. Like a lot of oncidiums, it doesn't throw roots until we're quite a long way along with the development of the pseudo bulb. One thing I'd like to say I'm finding, but the problem is I'm a former research engineer and I like to be precise in what I say, and this is very, very subjective. But in my opinion, I normally would use orchid focus fertilisers at the standard strength, and I then flush once a month. For the last year, 18 months, something like that, I've been using rainwater. I used to use water that I took out of my fish tank, big fish tank in the next room, and that's obviously got calcium and magnesium in it. We live in an area where you get that in the water supply. My water is not hard. It's not soft either, but it's not hard, and we don't get a lot of problem with kettle fur or anything like that, but we do get a slight brown deposit. So I think they must have been getting some calcium and magnesium, but I didn't think things were doing quite as well, so I got some of this, and I now add that, the recommended strength, every feed. And subjectively, and I stress subjectively, I think things are getting better. I'm seeing more roots. Some of the plants, like my white cattleya, it's put up its biggest cane since I bought it, which is 3 or 4 years ago, and it's putting out big roots, and a lot of the others are doing something similar. Right. Another one which is coming to the end of the second spike, nothing like what it could have been because muggins knocked the tip off when it was developing. Very, very easily done, because when we've got cymbidiums in here and a strelitzia over here, it makes it quite difficult to walk around without catching something, and I inadvertently took the tip off this, but I've got a couple of branches nonetheless, and it's looking quite good. We've got 2 new growths on here. There's one of the very old pseudo bulbs is beginning to look a bit manky, but we've got new roots showing around the plant, and this thing, when it's in its growing mood, it drinks like a fish and goes absolutely berserk. So this, I think, will be okay. One that's beginning to bother me a bit, this is Mini Mark, Phalaenopsis Mini Mark. It hasn't put any new leaves up for a while, it's putting some new roots out. It's flowered a lot in the last 12 months. It flowered on the spike, that spike finished, I cut it off, it put this one up. And that's nearly finished, so that'll be able to be cut off very shortly. It's now put up two quite poor spikes down at the bottom. There's a little one just there which is about to open, and there's this very short one down here which has just opened its first one. So I'm a little bit concerned that this is not growing as it should. We've got one rather poor leaf there that's on its way out, an older leaf, but we have got roots coming. It hasn't long been repotted. It was if you remember, it was in a very tall pot, and the roots look quite good. They've got green tips on, so I don't know. I do think they can flower themselves out. I've had that before. There's another one I'll be showing you very shortly, and you really do need to watch what you're doing. I didn't realise the amount of energy that these plants take up when they are when they're flowering. Phalaenopsis equestris. Second spike on this one for me. We've got a few more buds still to come. It's putting roots out, we've got a leaf coming out, and of course we've got this keiki from the end of the previous spike. I was told this is very common with equestris. I've pinned it down into a small pot that's got bark in the bottom for drainage, and about, I don't know, an inch, 25mm, 30mm of moss just resting in the top to give it something for the roots to dive into. Again, it seems to be doing okay. I don't know when to cut this off. I'd like to see a little bit more development before I do. It won't be very long, simply because trying to do these two together, because this needs watering more often than this one does, and trying to cope with the two is not very easy, so we'll have to do something about that. Another one coming to the end of this particular flowering cycle, a No ID sort of mini. Had this quite a long time. Flowers fairly regularly, once a year. We've got some new leaves coming. Can't see any new roots, but if we've got a new leaf, that's a good start. And the roots look reasonably good that I can see. So that's one that we're probably not going to see beyond next month, if we do see it next month. One I'm almost certain we're not going to see next month is this one. This is Phalaenopsis mannii, my second species, Phal. It's got new roots. It has put some new leaves out, which are a good size. It's flowered quite nicely on this first spike. There's one more bud to come, and I'm pleased with that. That's doing quite nicely. That just sits on our kitchen windowsill, and he's doing absolutely fine. Got some nice green root tips and things. I can see 2 more new roots coming, so 3 more new roots, so that's doing okay. That's happy. Another flower which I got as an idea a long time ago now. This is an old faithful, seems to have been flowering for ages. This is one which somebody identified for me as Fuller's Sunset Golden Sun. Again, it's put some nice new leaves up. Some of the leaves it put up in the last couple of years were not as big. I mean, this was a monster. You can see by the size of that leaf, which is the last of the old ones. This was a big plant, and then the next two it grew weren't that big. The next two have got bigger and bigger. They're still not as big as the original, but we're getting there. But I think this is a real beauty, and I'm really, really pleased I managed to pull it round. As I've said before, this is the one which showed me just how much energy these things use when they are trying to flower. Because a few years ago now, probably 4 or 5 perhaps even, this flowered like mad. It was like that mini mark. It just flowered and flowered and flowered, and you kept chopping the spikes off and it will put another one up. And after it finally stopped flowering, the plant just collapsed. And it took a long time to sort itself out. Now it has done, and we're definitely on the road to recovery. But that spike, lovely as it is not as good as it can do, and this leaf's not as big as it can do. So this has got the potential to make a big specimen again. Another one we definitely won't be seeing next time. This is the last flower on my Paphiopedilum American hybrid, the Bulldog Path. The colours are changing, some parts are going translucent, some parts are going brown. So this flower is going to drop in the next few days, and that'll be it for another probably 12 months. But I think it's going to be time to repot it. It's been in this pot for a long time. Not looking forward to it. It's absolutely full of roots, and these might well have stuck to the pot, so that's going to be fun. And then I've got the question of, do I split it or not? But nevertheless, it's going to need the bark refreshing if nothing else. But it's got several new growths on, so this is not going to go anywhere fast. There's one on here which I think you probably aren't going to see, certainly not very easily. Let's see what we can come up with. It's not an orchid by Epiphyllum. And I don't know how well you can see. There we are in the middle of the screen now. No ID Epiphyllum from a friend of mine a few years ago. Likes a lot of light, very unruly plant, and I've had to trim it back quite hard to stop it overbalancing, because it all goes the one way towards the light. But there's 6 or 8 buds on it at various stages of development. Every time I look, there's another one starting to emerge. So this, after a long time doing absolutely nothing, has now become a reliable bloom, and this is, I think, the 3rd or 4th year that it's done any good. So there we are then. That's the end of the video. I hope you've enjoyed it. I'll look forward to seeing you soon, because I've definitely got some repots that we're going to need doing. Thank you for watching, and enjoy this wonderful weather we've got at the moment. Bye.